Yee-jae went looking for a way out of his miserable existence. What did he find instead? Let's recap Season 1, Episode 1 of Death's Game. How's it? I'm Evie and welcome to After the Episode. On this channel, you'll explore unforgettable Korean dramas and anime. The epic action, wild twists, and moving moments. Let's tuck in. Yee-jae crouches in anguish. He can't understand why he's been condemned. "You're guilty of seeking me out," Jug-eum, the Grim Reaper, replies coldly before double-tapping him in the face. Falling through the sky, Yee-jae wakes up with a jolt. "I can't go out like this," he thinks as he hurtles to the ground. His only desire is to go out cleanly. How did Yee-jae end up in this mess? We're taken back 7 years to the day that marked the beginning of the end. Yee-jae is on his way to an important job interview at the prestigious company Taekang. His supportive girlfriend Jisoo calls to offer encouragement. All he has to be is true to himself, and that's more than enough. Yee-jae is still nervous though. The pressure is high because he needs to get this job before graduation. Yee-jae has only just managed to calm himself when tragedy strikes. An anxious man runs directly into traffic, is hit by a car, and goes flying through the air, landing in front of Yee-jae. The mortally injured man stares at him intently and grabs his arm before going limp. Yee-jae is traumatized by the incident. During the interview, he's shaken and distracted, much to the annoyance of his interviewers, who think he's wasting their time by being unable to answer a basic question. In the blink of an eye, the opportunity of a lifetime has passed him by. Can I just say that having your life's path dictated by the outcome of a single job interview is nasty work? Do you think Yee-jae told the interviewers about the horrific event he witnessed prior to the interview? If he did, and they treated him with this level of indifference, then that's not a place anyone would enjoy working at. If he didn't because he was afraid that mentioning it would lower his chances of being hired, then that's not a place anyone would enjoy working at. For the next 7 years, Yee-jae would look for other full-time positions, to no avail. A lack of stable employment coupled with the global health crisis result in Yee-jae's student loans piling up. While his peers gain relevant work experience, Yee-jae takes on various part-time jobs to pay his bills. For Yee-jae, having an ordinary life with a career and marriage is an extraordinary achievement that's out of his reach. Although every day feels exactly the same as the last, the uncertain future dominates his thoughts. Hundreds of cover letters and interviews later, Yee-jae still holds on to a sliver of hope that eventually he'll find something. After grinding for 7 long years, Yee-jae lands an interview at Taekang once more. During the interview, the managers are as implacable as the last time. His high academic scores don't make up for the obvious absence of study abroad experience. They consider the inclusion of irrelevant part-time jobs on his resume desperate and laughable. Only one interviewer treats Yee-jae with civility and recognizes his tenacious character and persevering attitude. The manager is impressed by Yee-jae's strong work ethic, which he had to develop after losing his father at the age of 5. Yee-jae diligently continued his education while doing part-time jobs, and the manager admires him for it. Yee-jae is still glowing with pride as he walks out of the interview when he receives a worried call from his friend, Taeshik. "Did you invest in Yeonsu's deal too?" he asks in concern. "He's lost everyone's money and run off somewhere." Panicking, Yee-jae searches for Yeonsu at his apartment. He bangs on the door repeatedly with his fist at first, then with a nearby fire extinguisher, but he's not there. Yee-jae crashes out, sobbing and cursing, while the apartment residents look on. Yee-jae is reported to the police, and at the station the officer scolds him for his destructive behavior. Yee-jae apologizes and begs the officer to arrest Yeonsu, who lost all his money. To his outrage, however, a sour investment is not grounds to sue Yeonsu for fraud. In despair, he remembers how rosy the investment seemed when Yeonsu guaranteed profits high enough to afford marrying his long-term girlfriend, Jisoo. Completely dejected, Yee-jae walks to Jisoo's upscale house and watches from afar as she happily receives flowers from a colleague. Her smile fades when she sees the solemn look on Yee-jae's face. "Have you been drinking again?" she asks wearily. "Why wouldn't I on a day like this?" he replies sadly. Jisoo, as supportive as ever, gives him an envelope of cash since he skipped his part-time jobs to prepare for the Taekang interview. Holding the envelope, Yee-jae asks whether she's cheating on him, which is a wild thing to say. She's not. She loves him, but Yee-jae believes he's nothing but a burden on her life. Work even harder then, she fires back, but Yee-jae, full of self-loathing, is tired of it all. He hands her back the envelope and walks away from Jisoo and their relationship for good. Yee-jae arrives at his apartment to find his belongings scattered outside and his door padlocked shut. The landlord has kicked him out for failing to pay rent. Yee-jae stays outside the apartment all night in the rain and cold, huddled beside all his worldly possessions. The next morning, his woes continue. "You have failed your final interview. Thank you for applying to Taekang," reads the automated message. Yee-jae breaks down into fresh tears. Sometime later, standing on the ledge of a skyscraper, Yee-jae contemplates what got him here. His life fell apart when that man ran into traffic all those years ago. A hopeless life is far scarier than a painless demise, he muses, and takes the leap. His phone rings on the ledge, but Yee-jae has already landed on the ground. The person trying to reach him is his mother. Yee-jae regains consciousness, not on the pavement, but on the comfortable couch of a luxurious private plane. He examines his reflection, but the startled face looking back at him is not his own. Sitting next to him is a mysterious woman holding the handwritten note he left on the ledge. "I'm not afraid of death at all," she reads in amusement. Baffled, Yee-jae asks how she has his will. The woman introduces herself as Jug-eum, the legendary Grim Reaper, and transports him to the underworld. Yo, it's scary. The sky above is black and the sea below is crimson. The Demogorgons from Stranger Things slowly claw their way up the tower they're standing on, and all the while, agonized screams fill the air. This isn't the bad place though, just a halfway house.
Okay.
Jug-eum brought him here for one reason: punishment. Yee-jae is guilty of finding her before she could find him. Jug-eum releases her grip on his throat and Yee-jae plunges into the boiling crimson sea, where hundreds of Demogorgons begin to swarm him. This is the stuff of nightmares, and Yee-jae wakes up on the luxurious private plane screaming his head off. Sitting across from him, Jug-eum calmly explains the nature of his punishment. While all humans have the privilege of exiting the world once, that privilege has been stripped from Yee-jae, who will have to do so 12 times.
Ouch!
His soul will enter the bodies of 12 people whose demise is imminent, and he'll experience the pain of their final moments. If Yee-jae is able to prevent the demise of his host body, then he can carry on living in that body. "I don't want to carry on," Yee-jae says defiantly. "I don't want to live again." Ignoring this, Jug-eum dares him to take charge of his own destiny as he had implied in his will. She vanishes just as the plane begins to shake violently. Despite the flight attendant's assurances that there's no cause for alarm, Yee-jae straps on a life jacket and braces for impact. The turbulence was only temporary though, and Yee-jae apologizes for his outburst, yet declines to remove the life jacket for the time being. Instead, he explores the plane and marvels at the lavish lifestyle enjoyed by his host body. Out of thin air, a crystal materializes in front of him. It enters his mind and gives him the memories and abilities of his host body, whose name is Jin-tae, the second son of Taekang's CEO. Jin-tae grew up in fabulous wealth, thinking everyone had at least 3 private planes. His entire life has been a competition against his older brother, who we've met before. He was the man who expressed admiration for Yee-jae during his recent interview at Taekang. Jin-tae wins the ultimate contest when his father names him as successor of his older brother and begins training him for the role of Taekang's CEO. With this new information, rejoining the land of the living seems quite appealing to Yee-jae. He grins to himself, completely oblivious to what's happening outside his window. The engine is on fire. Yee-jae is thrown out of his seat as the plane plummets to the ground. Helplessly, Yee-jae watches as the flight attendant and pilot fall through the gaping hole in the plane. Moments later, the whole plane goes up in flames and Yee-jae becomes a human torch.
Fatality.
Yee-jae wakes up in Jug-eum's domain, screaming his head off. "You've got 11 to go," she calls genially from her desk. In the same mild tone one would use when inquiring about the weather, Jug-eum asks for feedback on his scorching experience. Petulantly, Yee-jae replies that it was bearable, but a bit unfair. How was I meant to survive and have a different ending if my host body was trapped on an exploding plane? Yee-jae complains. Jug-eum is just like,
I missed the part where that's my problem.
oh, by the way, if he can't save any of his host bodies, he'll end up in the bad place. Let me give you a quick tour, Jug-eum offers graciously. When they return, Yee-jae has a full understanding of the eternal damnation that awaits him should he fail. Jug-eum has shown him the stick. Now she dangles the carrot. If he succeeds, not only will he live the rest of his days in the host body, but at the moment of his passing, he could avoid being sentenced to the bad place. It all depends on the judgment of a being much more tender-hearted than her. Make no mistake, Jug-eum warns, these bodies you'll inhabit aren't an epic opportunity, but a severe punishment. With that, she sends him off for round number 2. True to her word, Yee-jae is revived in a new host body that's presently skydiving without a parachute.
That was diabolical!
Jug-eum has a wicked sense of humor. His host body is Jae-sub, an extreme sports enthusiast with 4 Guinness World Records. He is currently attempting a new record aired on live TV and across the globe, an 8,000-meter jump onto a safety net. If successful, his sponsor will give him 3 billion won. Once Yee-jae acquires Jae-sub's memories and skills, he also acquires Jae-sub's unwavering confidence. Fine, let's give it a go, he decides, as his emergency crew engages their parachutes. I'm gonna make it, he yells in exhilaration, right before he misses the safety net and lands on the concrete with a splat.
Fatality.
If the first 2 rounds are this horrific, what does Jug-eum have in store for Yee-jae? We'll see in my next recap video on episode 2, so check it out. Links are in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.